Yes.
And also, Team Liquid has looked very, very good.
Also true.
So it's possible. I think the 66% win chance for FlyQuest, if you're going 2 out of 3 analysts, is like fairly representative.
Okay.
So I'm willing to be open-minded that Raz could be right.
Okay. We'll have to see. Raz's pride is on the line, and so is IMT's potential first victory of this one. FlyQuest wanting to continue 2-0. Udyr apparently is just out of there. Can't have that pick in the hands of Jose.
I do not mind it whatsoever. Just FlyQuest had a very systematic victory yesterday where they had a very strong pushing bot lane. They had Udyr in the jungle, and they got a very early Dragon Soul and then just won. And that's a very repeatable way to win. We heard even Whippo talking in his post-game interview today about how in Spring Split they were trying to do all this stuff. And he actually said, oh, by the way, in summer, I'm going to be weak side. We're going to play through Hans and Core, and that's just going to be us. So a team that has an idea of how they should play, to me, is always more dangerous. And that's one of the reasons I like the Udyr ban.
I would have, I'd say Whippo quite bold for making the plans that plain. I think when you're that good, you can maybe get away with it. We're in this game, though. IMT, Kai'Sa, Wukong, first 2 picks. Ezreal, the first pick there for Johnson. It is all reliable for many of the AD players here in this league. And Jose is having fun flashing the brand for the fans.
Absolutely. Want to explain the Ezreal Kai'Sa a little bit right here. We've seen this trade several times today. It's a little bit old school where Kai'Sa is seen as an answer into Ezreal. It is definitely a pick that needs to snowball, however. But basically, if left alone, Kai'Sa usually has the ability to get solo kill pressure onto Ezreal, mainly because of how well she can close with her ultimate. But you really do need to play very aggressive, up-tempo, and have setup for Kai'Sa as well. So the same way we were complaining about Immortals not having setup for Taliyah yesterday, hard CC will proc Kai'Sa passive stacks so she can ult into the backline. So I think Kai'Sa does pair well with Wukong, but also, back in the day would pair with like Lee Sin soul lanes and things like that to allow backline one-shots. And that's what you need against Ezreal.
Interesting here for Fly. Afro actually going to go for Rakan, the champion that he basically debuted many years ago now in the LCS, but also a champion Ignar is very famous for. So interesting pairing there alongside the Ezreal, but IMT are going to wait on the second half of their bottom lane. It is Ahri for Power of Evil as their final pick of Phase 1.
Yeah, I think PoE was actually earlier on the Ahri train than a lot of people. Even though many people see him as an Orianna one-trick. I know he was tweeting about how much he loved Ahri before it became meta and was understanding of its power. I also think the Rakan pick you just talked about for Aphromoo is twofold. Like, it's decent with Ezreal, but it's also just a denial. Kai'Sa Rakan is also a fine lane, so I really like that choice by FlyQuest.
Look at them, they're just picking on Ignar. Modalus out of there, maybe they'll ban something like Leona, we'll have to see. Viego on the other side, though, as Jose is going to lose at least one more champion here. Maybe a second here, if IMT want to go that way with this second ban, their 5th of this draft. And they do, Lee Sin banned.
Yeah, I do think that's heavily targeted just specifically at the player.
Yeah.
Because Wukong, in theory, is pretty good into other AD junglers. But understandable why you'd ban those 2 champions from Jose.
All right, so Fly. Is it Leona, which is decent into Rakan? Can definitely lock it down. Rakan's tricky to lock. No, Renata instead. Definitely a very powerful support. Going to be taken away here.
I'll be curious to see what Ignar chooses. He should pick right here because Immortals will want to give counterpick to Revenge. It's something they did a lot last split. It's also a very standard thing for red side teams to do this year.
Yep, see Coach talking to Ignar. Ignar's nodding his head. So I think they do agree that it is going to be an engaged support, which is very likely for Ignar, with Enchanters being strong. Definitely something that is an option for these players, but Ignar is not incapable of playing those picks, but heavily prefers the aggressive champions.
Yeah, and in terms of cohesion with their first pick, which is Kai'Sa, there's a lot of it. All 3 of those champions have the ability to combo with Kai'Sa if they're trying to assassinate the Azir or the Ezreal.
Time to Trundle here for Jose. Going to be the matchup there up against Kembri's Wukong, which leaves us in top lane. Philip going to have to go ahead and blind something here.
Yeah, Philip, as they mentioned on the desk, had a pretty good debut. even though I think expectations are fairly muted for him. Definitely seen as a long-term play for this organization in the top lane. And when you do have to blind a pick, Aatrox is actually not the worst if you're just going to leave him alone up there.
There's no on. But yes, Philip will be isolated. That's pretty safe. He was a weak side player in Academy. That is likely carrying through here for FlyQuest in this iteration, as Gwen going to be the pick here for Revenge.
Yeah, I actually think Ornn probably would have been bad. Ornn Trundle in particular, as those two, is too low damage. It really allows the other top laner to run away with things because you need to bring more than just the jungler. So Aatrox plus Trundle will still be enough to threaten whatever Revenge would have picked in the top lane. It's not as good for like actual 5v5, but in terms of playing out the map, does simplify things a little bit, so I understand the Aatrox.
I like it. This team's going to go ahead and trade champions back and forth. Don't worry, Afron Johnson will trade. There we go. Get him over there. That's good.
So if you're Immortals, right now, you're just trying to clear your head. Yesterday didn't happen.
Nope.
I mean, some say your LCS season doesn't really start until you kill a champion or a turret or an objective.
Yeah.
So it hasn't started yet for Immortals. They can just 2 or 3 in their power rankings.
Pretty high.
They did not look good to me. And we've done it.
We've done it.
We've made it into the game.
We have arrived to our final game of the day. Thank you, Mr. Leesman. It was a pleasure. See you on the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. But for now, IMT versus FlyQuest is on the Rift for our final game of day 2.
I'm going to request broadcast sends me the camera feed, and I can just post that on the JLXP channel.
Hey,
and that's my recap. That's my day 2 recap.
We did it.
With pastry time.
We found a way to make content. You're welcome. I'll come on your show anytime.
You just were. Okay, recap quickly on this game. FlyQuest sitting at 1-0. Very convincing win yesterday. Got a Dragon Soul at about 22.5 minutes against Golden Guardians. Looked like Golden Guardians didn't do anything, but it was a lot of FlyQuest just being in position. First setup for the first 3 dragons. Then on the 4th dragon, they got a pick before the dragon, just got the soul, and then kind of ended up winning the game. So a little bit of an anticlimactic end there. And Immortals, of course, don't want to dwell too much, but yet to pick up a kill or a turret or an objective this year.
Yeah, you think things should be quite different for both teams here. FlyQuest expecting probably kind of a grumpy Immortals, a bit more of a test here.
I said this year, I meant this split.
Yes.
They definitely won a lot of games last split.
They certainly did. It's Power of Evil squaring up against Tukoi. Haven't seen Tukoi's Azir, I believe, although it is picking up some speed in the meta recently, and this is a champion he's very well versed on. Tukoi actually was a pleasant surprise for me in spring. Was a really great mid laner to watch. I think he's very versatile, very skilled, and I think is underrated as a laner, even though he gets a lot of credit for his synergy with his jungler and his team fighting, which is also well deserved.
Yeah, former MVP of the LFL.
Afro in trouble briefly. Ignore though, just little love tap on in with the Zenith Blade. Gonna bounce on out there. Don't think there's too much expected interaction in the 2v2, although I guess if there is going to be, it's going to be the man with the Ignite and the Leona lining up, as can be skipping the old Krugs down to the blue side nice and quick here.
Yeah, interesting, very, very, very defensive summoner choices by FlyQuest. Cleanse, Exhaust, and also First Strike on the Ezreal, so maximizing some late game gold. It will change, to me, a little bit of the complexion of how they play. I don't see how they're going to get bot prio with that to be able to move to Dragon. Maybe Tukui can get prio with Azir here against Power of Evil's Ahri, and they can use that to move into River. And this is assuming they're still trying to stack Dragons early, but I imagine they will.
I have to think so. Tukui feeling good, though, getting the wave pushed up. It is Philip struggling a touch here. Revenge going to take a very early base here and just accept that the wave's in a good spot. Wants to go back and let Philip kind of push it back out and kind of reset things, but I don't think he's got much. Does have a Doran's shield, actually. The Revenge does pick up a second item for his lane. Can be going to go ahead, clears his blue side jungle fully, but Jose down to this side. Pops the shield off. Smite is good from Jose. He's taking that crab away.
So just a fraction of the second late for that Scuttle Crab. Not as bad as what happened yesterday, where he was a fraction of a second late and then Santorin killed his bot lane. Losing the crab is a little bit acceptable. Interesting, I think interesting jungle matchup from a story perspective, actually. Josedeodo had a pretty poor debut, I'd say, like, split/year in 2021, but was much improved in spring split of this 2022, but a very, very hyped player. I know when I was on Team Liquid, like, we would see this guy in NA solo queue, and then actually Core started watching some of his games where he made this like gauntlet run to qualify for 2020 Worlds, and everyone was like, hey, this Josedeodo is really good. We called him Josedeodo because our general manager was Dodo 8.
Yep.
And it's just, so I will still mispronounce his name occasionally because of that. I apologize to everyone if it happens, but he didn't translate very well to the needs of different teammates when he joined FlyQuest. And I think that's going to be very interesting for me with Kenby, because he spent, a year and a half to 2 years just like being the man wherever he was. Because like behind the scenes, everyone talked about how good Kenby was and when he would make it into the LCS. And I think, and this is actually speculation, but I think he was trying to like really land on a top team for a long time, or 100 Thieves was trying to place him on a top team. Plus there's all this like buyout stuff that happens with academy players. But
Ignite.
Now that he's here, he needs to make an impact.
2v2, very nice patience there for Josedeodo, and Philip actually gets the chain on revenge, so there was potential, but they'll back away instead, and that's exactly what Jose wanted. He was covering there, wasn't interested in diving that Gwen, and is there for the timing on Kenby.
Yeah, there we go. Philip wanted to recall, and Kenby would have had the gank there, but ends up kind of playing catch-up, so he's been double crabbed, and he is playing in somewhat of a responsive way. I want to see a way for him to be able to get unlocked, but the LCS is actually a different stage. Even if you see, like, FlyQuest, they're just a 5th or 6th place team, that can be a very different level when you're playing against it, especially with the stage 2.
Right, and to your point, as we'll watch this one again, Kenby knew what the situation was, but, I like this. Dips on over. Oh, that's so cool.
That's very cool. But yeah, if Jose wasn't there, this was a kill. But that's just like game sense by Jose to be there to allow the push out.
Yeah, and kind of to what you were saying. Like,
I am gonna steal that one.
Yeah, that's really nice actually. Little Wukong invisibility lasts just long enough to get through the speed shrine vision zone that the Rift Scuttler provides. Especially after the double crab, Philip would have been feeling pretty safe. So Jose actually with a really tight read in top lane.
Ooh. So, just gonna explain it in case people are missing it. He used his W right over the vision area of the blast cone so that no one was able to see him. He's gonna lose another crab though.
Oh no. This might already happen. Jose doesn't have his, but the crab's walking the wrong way. Jose just slaps it down. Kenby loses his 3rd crab in a row, and it is tough adjusting. Not just that he was the player for a lot of people in Academy.
Yeah.
He was with teammates that he knew pretty well for a long time in there as well, and he's also changed organizations. Was under the 100 Thieves banner and their infrastructure for so long. So it is a lot of change for Kenby and for IMT as they put together this team here for the summer split. So definitely a player that is exciting and should be interesting to people, especially off the back of Danny and Jojo kind of reminding people about the NA ecosystem. But I've talked to the Academy guys. Kenby is good, but he is not like, we should be hyping him right now. This is a player that's going to need time to marinate.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's just, he's playing with Power of Evil for like the 2nd day.
Yep.
He needs a little bit more time to get synergy with the majority of his team. Speaking of the Academy stuff, and I will interrupt myself if some action happens, but the Philip promotion, and this is my theory, I haven't confirmed this.
I love Jet theories.
Does not happen if EG doesn't win finals. So we talked a lot about how the EG kind of taking a bet on Jojo and Danny to promote them so soon when possibly like on paper better players existed, and even like if you look at what EG did, they were 9-9.
Oh, okay, we're good.
Almost lost it. Yeah, they were 9-9 in spring split before winning. Like Jojo and Danny didn't necessarily work right away, but in time it did, and they won the title, and they went on to have a 5-5 MSI group stage. But like right now, I don't think Philip is necessarily better than Kumo, but I think someone within the FlyQuest organization said Kumo has, while he is good and you can still make improvements as an older player, like Philip is very, very young, and we want to give him his reps, and then we'll judge. Like then they'll judge after 2022 who is better, because Philip didn't have amazing laning stats in Academy. You listen to the Academy casters, they're saying like, oh yeah, we didn't even think he was the best top laner in Academy, but he is getting this shot, I think, because he was within the FlyQuest organization, and there's a general hunger to allow these chances as the Rift Herald fight is looking like it's going to happen.
Yeah, seeing some of that, of course. Kenby and Philip, in some ways, doing battle, even though they're not in the same lane. But IMT first to this Herald. Philip, though, trying to make the fight happen. Going over the top. It's IMT looking to try and capitalize. Lutz goes in. Wukong's going to find the first blood, and it is absolute carnage here in the top side of the river. But Johnson was not there. So IMT take the Herald and the first blood.
And Kenby's on the board. First blood
IMT's
for
on the
Wukong.
board.
And they get the Herald to boot, so they have a chance of opening up a big lead, and that's so great when you have this hard engaged team. Like, they have to go in, so finding ways to fight around objectives, especially since turrets have been buffed so much, and it's more dangerous to turret dive early in the game. Just a massive fight find by Immortals, and a big reward.
Little plate there for Lost as well. Scoops it up in the top lane with that wave being there. So that's going to be almost 1,000 gold ahead for IMT with more to come. Perhaps we watch this again.
And honestly, they just have more people here. You can see Ezreal on the minimap is actually just not there. He has to stop to fire his ultimate. So, of course they're going to win this fight. I think it's an uncontestable Rift Herald by FlyQuest, and very close to losing two and even more.
Yeah, Jose lucky to get away. So just the one casualty. They'll take it. Kimby grabs a bit of extra gold for himself. Johnson currently chilling here in the top side. I've actually swapped completely for right now at least, which is a little curious with the dragon being up, but maybe it's just temporary with how the assignment shook out after that reset. So it continues to play pretty nicely here against Revenge. He's down in CS though, which again has been a commonality for him in Academy and in the LCS. So definitely looking more at what he does after this, even though his trades have been decent up against Revenge. Jose also parked behind this pocket of vision, but Revenge sniffs it out. Gonna dash away. Ooh, Pillar's well nice.
It does call question into this dragon, though. Kenby had to pull off, and they catch him.
Going for it again. Revenge in trouble. That's Philip flashing on in for the kill.
Philip on the board as well. So the two recently promoted Academy players get the first 2 kills of this game in the LCS here. Also, just a little bit of indecision, right? Revenge could have been playing more back while Kenby was on the dragon, but then Kenby actually pulled off the dragon, so he spent, at this point, almost a minute in that spot of the map. But watching this one more time, you see Wukong actually killing the Infernal Drake, and Revenge hoping to crash, rather than just kind of sitting back and playing a little bit safe. Philip, right here, after the pillar slows him down, lands the Aatrox W. Revenge tries to move sideways, but if he moves left, he doesn't get out. If he moves right, the pillar slows him. So actually no way out of the Aatrox pull, and they get the kill.
Yeah, Trundle's one of those champions that he ganks you, and sometimes it feels like it does nothing. And then when the pillar's just right, you feel like you've literally been stunned by an ability from a different game. Yeah. It's actually unreal.
My favorite one is the pillar that knocks them away from the team, and then your top laner flaming you. Because I didn't realize I had Smartcast on. That's my move. But I need to work on that.
Well, still getting harassed by Johnson under the tower, but been getting the tower worked down a little. Lost trying to collect some of that plate gold. That gold, though, has been cut down a little after the counter kill in bottom side. Not much at all for IMT as the advantage. Zafro maybe finding an angle here onto Lost. Lost has flash and heal, so I can't imagine a scenario where he dies in the 2v2. But PoE maybe roaming up there as well. Getting some vision now. As Kenby starting that red. Gonna go ahead and take his buffs away. Zafro dips on in for a bit of vision. Jose's behind them.
Yep. Ezreal just trying to work up to a few item power spikes. First to Mythic was actually Lost's Kai'Sa, so right now if they do get left like isolated 1v1, the Kai'Sa would have a big advantage, but FlyQuest doesn't let that happen. They're just mobbing around Johnson to allow him to get golden plates.
And again, Revenge continuing to push up aggressively. Feels confident in the 1v1. No Jose this time. Nice cancel. Did have vision, but Revenge going to be delayed just a touch, and the Herald is going to be popped. Not a bad setup for it. We'll see if Lost can kind of manicure the wave in. Blue Buff's going to go back over to Tikoi.
Yeah, nice transfer. Immortals would love to hit this for about a plate before the Rift Herald crashes. Then they'd be able to take the whole thing down.
Have the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, Jose.
Jose, that's a bold place to be. There is Ezreal and Rakan on the way.
That's a slow only, but it might be good enough. The stopwatch though is there. And now Igna taking the tower. It's very spooky. The plate damage is done, but Fly do defend their jungler.
Okay, let's see what they actually get for this, because he buys time by using a stopwatch, and they have a 3v4, and Azir would need to be able to push up. But unfortunately, there's just no vision in this area, so he can't safely push the turret. And it's like a nice play by Jose, but actually doesn't get much done. The plate still crashed, the mid laner doesn't get any plates, and we're back to neutral.
Yep, and Revenge, gonna go ahead, scoop this wave up. Philip was pushing in, he'll take his reset. Lots of back and forth here. It looks like teams might be playing between the objectives. IMT did get the first one, which is that Infernal Dragon. They'd also get the Herald that eventually crashed in top lane and gave a bit of gold over to Lost, who is the big recipient. As you can see there in the FTX total gold. Lost definitely a player that I'm been kind of bouncing around teams.
Yeah.
In recent splits, but a player that I've always had a lot of personal interest in. He's from my region, of course. He was the original Oceanic import here to NA, long time ago now at this point.
On Echo Fox.
Correct, Echo Fox Academy. And I think a player that...
He had like a really good quote in the first... Do you remember that?
The Power Friendship one? Or something else?
It's like Ride Hard or Die.
Oh, yeah. That's a Lost classic. And I think a player that has maybe struggled to find the ceiling that at least the local fans have definitely seen can do in Oceania. Hasn't always been willing to pull the trigger, go in and test his limits more as an AD, which is something that is always tough, because you need to dish out damage as an AD, and sometimes you look silly and sometimes you look amazing. But I think Lost is a player that will hopefully benefit from being on a different team. And even though I think IMT will take some time to warm up, yes, there are pieces of this team that have played together before. Lost and Kenby are not among those players that have experience. But Lost is continuing to get gold, at least in this game. Gets the first tower gold as well. Now it's kind of a real lead for IMT. Yeah. It's a little late here in the mid-game, 15.5 through, but 1,000 gold up is not bad at all.
Yeah, I also think Kai'Sa is one of his best champions.
Agreed.
I know when, like, one almost tragic team is like the 2021 TSM.
Yep.
Because that's when spring and summer split combined records. And across all 45 regular season games, 18 spring, 27 summer, they had the best record of every team in the LCS, but no one ever thinks of that team as being any good. They're just like, oh yeah, that failed Sword Art contract, and then they got rid of Lost. But like, they were actually, in the regular season, like the best team in the LCS. And I thought that Lost's Kai'Sa back then was really good. Like, he's just good at getting farm, found good times to get his windows. Outside of his Kai'Sa is actually where he struggled a lot. So this is a comfortable place for him and a good composition to hopefully pick up Immortal's first win.
And IMT have just kind of been like parading around the Rift, taking all the objectives. They got the second Herald. They're going to go ahead and grab the second Dragon. And Fly basically trying to pick up scraps. Like, Johnson is splitting top. They are not contesting right now. They just want to try and trade and get some gold back.
Yeah. It's This is more of the type of game that you and I expected we'd be getting.
Yep.
Right? Not the crazy COD TSM, like 1 or 2 kills per minute type game. But ultimately, it'll probably be a game that gets decided around objectives. They're just trading pressure, and Johnson really hoping to get this turret. Oh, dear.
Igno with a face check, but it's looking good for IMT. Wukong's going to fly on in, and the damage is not quite there onto Jose, but Philip now frontlining, gets the double knockup, finds Kenby, Decoy picks him up, and Philip is just frontlining for the squad, gets himself picked up by Revenge in response, but I like it.
I love the play of just waiting in that bush and kind of just baiting them with Johnson. But at the end, Philip gets a little bit too hyphy and gives his kill over. So at the end of it, it is the turret, but it is just the 1-for-1. And again, we're at neutral.
Huey TPing down here to the bottom side of the map as I watch this one again.
Yeah, I mean, they just place the control ward, make sure nothing's there. They've been using the sweeper. This is FlyQuest. So Ignar does press his W pretty quick and get his Aftershock, so the turn is fairly immediate. TP comes in from the Aatrox, and like right here, great, but your jungler has no health, your Ezreal has no mana, and you've gotten the 1 kill, back out. The flash forward was the mistake. The team cannot follow over that space, and they're able to return the kill.
Yeah. Good start. Little iffy on the dismount there with the finish, but again, the aggression you like to see from these young players. They often say it's a lot easier to get them to dial it back than to be too scared and not willing to make those plays. That's not always true. It's generally true.
Yeah.
But as you said, this does kind of just reset the game, and I think if that's the case, here almost 20 minutes through, game's fairly even keel as far as gold goes. IMT are happy. They have 2 dragons.
Yeah,
They're chilling.
I really think that's the biggest thing. FlyQuest with the early Dragon Soul yesterday. No dragons today, but they do have an Azir who's getting more and more money and more farm. So Takui's going to look to be a big force here. I think Trundle as a jungler also has tremendous scaling. He'll be able to ult Ignar early on in fights, make him kind of paperish by stealing all his resistances. And that's a good journey. It looked a little ambitious, but it was good.
Ignar's like, wait a second, what's happening here?
Trundle's coming.
Trundle, though, is backed away by the looks of things. Philip still feeling the 1v1, but Gwen with the Riftmaker finished. CS lead's been cut down a little bit there, although Philip is a bit behind, but Revenge is confident in the 1v1. Gwen is real tough to unseat in duels.
That looked painful. Philip lost half his health just now, just trying to slow the crash of his wave. So Revenge is going to have a very significant turn here, place wards and keep that wave pushed. So Immortal's going to buy a little bit more pressure. That's going to be eventually important as you move towards the third dragon.
Also, reminder, Kenvi does have the Rift Child, by the way. It's actually running pretty low on time to pop, so maybe mid, as Wukong is currently there, but going to have to get something done with it, as Revenge is doing a nice job here hitting down this tower. Going pretty efficient at getting down structures, and Revenge should be able to finish this off. Will do so, and Philip's going to join on in. But nothing Philip can do as Kenvi does indeed pop the Herald back towards the mid lane there, and IMT will try and move it on in.
Yeah, and Revenge going to kill that turret again and then probably move to try and support this Rift Herald. I mean, Azir is top, so they can get this crash and get the mid turret very low.
Ooh, love that look there. They have found the angle. It's Ignar that finds it and lost that gets the kill. It's Afro, though, back trading onto Kenvi. So 1-for-1 once again is Ignar getting low, but I don't think he's going to go down, and it's just continual trades.
That was a very fast trigger pull by Ignar. That's something he's very good at.
It's funny because my big thing with Ignar is that he's the hide-and-seek champion of the LCS. He always finds a flank. He's always out of vision. That was, a lot less subtle, let's say.
Yeah.
As FlyQuest with a nice push through. I'm going to actually get this tower. That's big.
That is. But they do have to reset now with about 30 seconds left. And Takui doesn't have TP, even though he's got 1,800 gold that he'd love to shop with. So this third dragon is going to be relatively difficult, because just look at the difference of where they are on the map right here. Like, there's already Lona and River, but as they set up that dragon, we're going to watch this clip one more time. It's just the Rift Herald crashing, and Jose is trying to delay it a little bit, and they just go in.
Yeah, Kenvi actually, I believe, started that up.
Yeah.
Really nicely done there for IMT. Of course, can be caught in the front line, does get CC'd and killed as a result. And now we're back to this dragon. FlyQuest actually are going to make it in time.
Yeah, and there's not even, the wave isn't even crashed. I'm actually very surprised, but let's see if FlyQuest can move in here. They're going to go for Jose.
Ulti just short. Jose does get slowed, gives him the thumbs up though, and now FlyQuest pushing that wave on through. We're going to move on up. Power of Evil looking for the charm, misses onto Philip, who dashes away, and IMT are a little split here.
Yeah, FlyQuest made it in. They cleared both control wards, so they're in River, but can't start the dragon yet.
Pee-wee
They
barely.
have a con ult, and okay, they have all ults. Takui might look for a big engage if they see it.
Yeah, it's all the flashes, all the ults by the looks of things. So it is going to be a pretty even team fight, but it is going to be a force here. Dragon low, Revenge getting chunked a little bit now as FlyQuest still trying to find the way in. Afro who once again finds two with the knockup. It's Johnson that finds the kill. Revenge is going to fall as well. The Dragon does get picked up though by Revenge. Even though Johnson gets the double IMT, I think get what they came for.
Ooh, I mean, the dragon is nice. It's possibly important later, but the game is very much in the hands of FlyQuest right now. They're going to be able to pick up a Baron off the back of that fight. 22 minutes in, this is going to grow their lead to close to 5,000.
Yep. Going to be big old FTX gold advantage after this one here. We'll check in on the exact amount in a moment. Jat said 5K. I believe him. He's very smart. As Ignar is trying to at least get a look in, but it's going to be far too late, and it's just a level 8 Leona. There is no chance of a steal. Looking very good for FlyQuest now off the back of that, even though they didn't get the dragon.
And I've been circling. Oh, no, I'll get back to it. I'll get back to that Frozen Heart on Ezreal. Watch this fight one more time. Really dicey. Immortals, like, I don't like starting the dragon when you don't have a clean engage option. Like, look where Ignar is. He has no ultimate and no way of starting the fight. So, like, yes, Immortals is daring FlyQuest to come to them, but then what? They don't have the people or the cooldowns in order to win the fight. Lost does his best, but really can't do anything. And then when 3 kills go over to Ezreal, it allows him to finish this Frozen Heart. which, if we think about like the classic style of the Kai'Sa Wukong or Kai'Sa Leona engage, it's like the Kai'Sa flies in with someone else and they try and one-shot this Ezreal. And basically, when you get to 3 items, that becomes impossible. So at this point, Ezreal has won the matchup. And the only way this turns back is Lost has to finish his Infinity Edge and then usually another item. He usually needs to get to 4 items before he's effective. So the Soul would help that if they're able to somehow steal it in 4 minutes, but a massive power spike for FlyQuest after that fight.
Yeah, that gold lead is now up to 5k. Was 4, now 5. Tower goes down, more likely to follow. Minute 40 left onto that Baron. Gonna be tough stuff here. PoE just hanging around, trying to make something happen. IMT fainting there in mid, maybe hoping to pick off someone in a silly spot, but Ezreal's very safe. Afro also very mobile. So not a lot for IMT to do. They have to stick together and try and find a pick, but picks are likely not forthcoming here.
Yeah, and just like a cute thing that's happening this game is like Philip is just off on his own all the time.
Yeah, he's vibing.
Like, they've really made this game into a 4v4.
Yeah.
Which, especially for Immortals, even though they didn't win too many games last split, like when they won, Revenge needed to pop off, and he hasn't been able to do that. So, job done, so to speak, for Philip with what FlyQuest want to accomplish so far.
Yeah, Fly. Old Philip there with a very slight CS lead, so has brought it back consistently, just being in the sideline, basically containing Revenge, right?
Yep.
And when he has been in teamfights, he's looked relatively good. That aggressive flash over the tree line aside, that was maybe the one error we can point to. Is Jose perhaps has also made an error in judgment, sticking around to touch too long, has lost, gets a much needed gold.
Yeah, that's actually a real big kill for Immortals. The coordinated reset was not so coordinated, and Jose gets caught out. That's a pretty big death that was unnecessary.
Johnson still firing the ulti up through mid. This outer is just barely alive for FlyQuest, and Johnson is going to keep it that way. Minute 40 until the Dragon Soul is available for Immortals only. Fly yet to get a Drake this game. Baron's wearing off, so we are going to reset back to these big objectives in just a moment. And IMT, unfortunately, the wait for Soul plan was looking all right.
Yeah.
And now they're 6,000 gold behind, and it looks a lot worse.
Yeah, and I don't think Immortals can contest this next one.
I agree.
When I just look at the items, right? Like Ezreal versus Kai'Sa, even Azir versus Ahri.
Yep.
Those are the 2 biggest ones. The rest of the team is pretty close, but just like 2 items and 500 gold short of IE versus 3.5 items. 3 completed items and a ton of magic resist for the Azir versus none on the Ahri. But if they are somehow able to get like really good push down bot lane and then Gwen can flank like behind them, maybe they'd have a chance as they fight in this like river area. But I think the smart play is to just wait until they have IE on the Kai'Sa and Deathcap and they just give this dragon.
Yeah, and Corey is not giving any mid prior to IMT. He is just smashing minions. This here is very efficient at this point at taking down those waves. The rest of Fly grouping together, making sure to get traction on this area and clear it all the vision. Revenge might just be in trouble, does have to dip away. But pretty good setup here for Fly. Johnson, hello. I think it was just to put down a control ward, actually, although I don't think he has space for one, so perhaps I'm wrong. They do have one deep, though, as Philip in trouble in the 1v1. Revenge just opening up the game. Lost here as well. TP coming on in, and Revenge basically gets a 1v1 kill. But now Kenvi potentially caught out here. Johnson cleanses it off. Kenvi's clone is low, but he's not dead. Not a lot of health to play with, though. And now Ignar, yep, going to be dead here, it looks like. Decoy does have the last little soldiers to get that trade.
Immortals really trying to make a play. They just burned Ahri ult as
face
well,
check.
though.
Not what you want to see. Lost a little too far forward. Goes invis, but it's just not enough. Decoy shuts that off immediately, and now IMT cannot get this dragon.
Huh. That was not the Kai'Sa play I expected.
No.
Yeah.
Touch too aggressive.
Yeah. A little bit.
Got to find the sweet spot.
The conversation we were having about waiting was not the conversation Immortals was having.
No.
But I do like this part of the play for sure. Just finding like a sneak attack on a Philip. Philip just needs to meet the wave, was trying to push up the wave, but the team wasn't necessarily there with him. And the continuation from the fight from Kenvi isn't that bad either, but so Revenge can't get in, and they're a little bit too grouped. So like at this point, if Ignar could have just found a way to stay with the team, and Immortals could have had 5 people to move through bot river. Maybe they have a chance. I think once Ignar goes down, Immortals probably has to call it quits. But nice window to try and take advantage of, nonetheless.
You saw kind of the problem, though, is that, yes, Revenge is in the lane. He can maybe get something done in the duel. He is relatively strong. 2 items now. Stopwatch as well there for the Gwen, but they had no control of their own jungle. And that's where IMT have to come through, which is why it ended up being a wash. So Fly will take the Dragon off the Rift. They'll continue to hold their gold lead, and they'll look to posture around this Baron.
They absolutely will. I think it's a very interesting game right now, actually. It's like not very easy for FlyQuest to force things, and with, like, Vulcan actually mentioned this in the interview when Gabby asked him about, like, oh, you didn't necessarily have that much engaged. He said, well, yeah, but it's just an Ezreal comp, so we just kind of hit them and ask them what they're going to do.
Yep.
That works a lot better when you have Drakes. So, yes, they have the 7,000 gold lead, but they still don't have inhibitor turrets opened up. They only have 1 Drake, and they have to avoid things like this where they potentially get picked out.
That's a very good stopwatch there for Afro. They're not going to have it for the next encounter. And Fly going to start the Baron immediately, forcing IMT into the area.
That's the play. It's like, you need to come to us, and then we'll have too much damage for you to fight.
Banshees, oh, that was so sick! He tried to get it off, he timed it nicely, but Decoy now going to shove them back. Afro's still alive, and now Decoy's on a rampage. Philip is just in there. No fear from the youngster as Revenge TPing in, but the flank perhaps ill advised, although Revenge is actually making it look pretty good. PoE finds the trump, over the wall he goes. Afro looks for the engaged angle, but can't get it, but IMT are going to get the kill. And this team fight's looking nice as Johnson is going to be shut down. 1,000 gold to Revenge, and IMT have found life in this game.
There's still plenty of game to play. Johnson, Afro, Jose down. Can be down as well, so no smite, but it is not going to matter as no one on FlyQuest can stop this Baron. Objective bounties weren't even up, actually, because the 3 dragons, I think, made the game close enough, and Immortals is right back in it.
TP in for Decoy as well. What a turnaround, though, for IMT.
I mean, really clever play there by Ignar, but the flash comes in. But, of course, once flash is down, Decoy doesn't have too many tools left, does stay alive for a very long time. So this fight really turns when Revenge flies in and gets a massive amount of damage onto Philip, but also notice how that ult passed through Aframu on the way. PoE playing around the outskirts, and Lost actually not having his ultimate at this stage in the fight. Has to kind of walk it down. But, like, Johnson just ends up being unable to be effective in this fight, possibly because of the space of where they started it. 1,000 gold to Revenge is going to maybe even make that split push. So Immortals was down 7,000 gold, but they're right back in it. There's Revenge. That's what did it. 6k damage from Gwen.
6k damage in the team fight and 1,000 extra gold. He's got 3 items now on the Gwen. Definitely a Revenge angle for sure right now for IMT. And hey, look at that with the Baron buff going to chug down the tower in the top lane. The other thing, like, yeah, really, again, hide and seek Ignar. You got to be careful when you're checking in the fog of war. But Jose just lost the 1v1 to the Baron because it's Baron. Like, what are you supposed to do?
That'll do it. That will do it. The unfortunate failed turn. And here we go again. Like, this is the bot time. Like, the only thing that they would want more of would be possibly a death cap on Gwen, but they got death cap on Ari. They got 3.5 items on Kai'Sa. They even have don't look at that. He's behind. But 3 people have a lot of gold for Immortals, and they might be able to pull off a fight and a win here.
Okay, he's got some heal cut, all right?
Yeah.
Got to tear down the Ezreal and the Aatrox and the Trundle. Although I did remember you mentioning a while ago that Infinity Edge was going to be a point that we should look for on Kai'Sa, and look at that.
Lord Dominic's regards, I think, will actually makes him stronger than Ezreal, so he's about equal right now. And Afro ulting is not good for FlyQuest.
Not going to have that cooldown. See if they can buy time, but the Dragon is up right now. The soul is upon FlyQuest as Immortals are looking to once again take the very powerful Hextech Dragon Soul off of the map. PoE is zoned away slightly, but does have the ulti. His mobility is pretty good as Revenge is just marking the enemy top laner, and in he goes to the Dragon Pits.
Oh, they're just going to flip it.
All right.
And when FlyQuest comes in, PoE is going to try and flank, so it makes it hard for Takui to follow.
Can be again fainting on in. Pops the clone. Dragon's low enough. Phillips in the pit doesn't really want to be there. Hextech Dragon's very cranky.
So this is actually kind of picture the same as when FlyQuest got the kills in the Baron beforehand. so I can see why Immortal says it, but we're going to see a fight here.
But Revenge, he's actually found time for the fight. Here he goes. PoE starts it up. Kemby gets in there. Jose's gone down. IMT, I think they've done it. They found the angle. They're going to get almost everybody here as Philip is going to dash away, but the Dragon is there. As Ignat's going to get it.
That's the soul.
And Kemby's still going. Yeah, Philip's just donezo. I mean, he might win the 1v1, but I think Kemby's got it. Nope, never mind. Kemby's thought better of his time. This is not the Academy battle we predicted, but Philip is going to try and find the solo, but I don't think it matters. And Kemby does eventually find the shutdown as IMT, they are going through mid. They are going to take this game, just stealing it away from FlyQuest.
Kemby wins the battle and the war at the end of this one, pulling out from a 7,000 gold deficit after being perfect game by Team Liquid yesterday. They did it. They forgot about the game yesterday. They're 1-1 and cruising on into the summer split.
Nobody is safe except Team Liquid. That's what it feels like right now.
Just wait until
2
tomorrow.
days.
Just wait until tomorrow.
True.
Maybe there'll be no safety then.
Just a very interesting game. The back and forth, we had the big objectives coming on through. FlyQuest just found that fight, even though the Dragon went over. IMT was so far behind after that Baron, and then they just kept committing.